And we say Sitaram to your listeners on Radio Jaagriti, 102.7 FM, our viewers on TV Jaagriti. Hey, those of you joining us home here in Trinidad and Tobago, regionally, internationally as well. Welcome to a special edition of Conversations right here on your number one radio and TV Jaagriti. Of course, at this time, you're accustomed to the program Straight Talk with our CEO, Mr. Lokesh Maharaj. But as we promised you last week, as we promised you on a Monday, when we had no program, we have a special guest with us in the studio, and we're having a special edition of the program, Straight Talk. Of course, we've got with us Professor Peter Baofu with us in studio. Sitaram, and welcome to Radio and TV Jaagriti.
Thank you.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about Peter Baofu.
Well, I am an American author and visionary. I have written more than 160 books in all fields of knowledge, in the social sciences, in the humanities, in the formal sciences, and in the humanities. And I try to propose more than 128 different new theories and visions about the human future in relation to the mind, nature, culture, and society. Ultimately, for some unified theories of everything, not just one, but several of them. And I have been in more than 100 different countries around the world. And I do that intentionally in order to understand humanity on the ground, not just by reading a documentary or watching a film and all that.
So we're privileged and happy that you're sharing some time with us.
I'm not telling you what to do, but my job is to show you the other side, the context of your questioning and the answers. And before you go into like this, because when you ask a question, you don't know how many assumptions that you are making in asking that question. And then unless you understand the assumptions and the path that you go in, you will just repeat the cycle again. You versus they. You understand me? We need to get out of that box that I'm trying to do.
And how does someone get this? How does someone get out of the box?
Well, you in a way, you need to have more people like me. Because now that the majority of the humanity is like you, there's the problem here. You are in control, not people like us. Because with that, not many people like us who think like that. And we need to get out of that box. But those people in power, I'm not talking about politics, I'm talking about everywhere, in school, in family, in organization, in church, in mosque, everywhere, they are a lot of people that think in that box. And that is, that's why I say, in the larger perspective, the human mind cannot survive to solve problems, because the environment that we have been in is evolving very fast, and we are spreading out now to the rest of the galaxy in the future. And those kind of environments, the mindset that we have, it cannot last for a long time. But it's just evolution. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying that it's bad. Dinosaurs, is that bad or good for them to become extinct? I think it's relative. But as a historian, for example, you can say that the dinosaur became extinct and then some other species emerged. But the same logic, I say, well, the human species became extinct one day and then we have the new ones emerge. But I'm not saying that I like dinosaur or do not like dinosaur or good or
you
bad.
want to be extinct at some time.
But you die, I die one day too. So.
Is there a clear-cut way? Well, it might not be, but to begin opening your mind and seeing the larger picture instead of seeing just the box that you're in.
Yes, opening your mind is only one thing. There are some more difficult intellectual endeavors that you have to do. That's why I propose more than 128 different theories and vision. Each of them is supposed to resolve one problem in a certain way, but some other will combine all of them. So yes, you can. And one of them is to get out of that box. That is very important beginning. Once you are able to get out of that box, and all of a sudden you see things in a totally different way, and you are not so dogmatic and so absolute, or on the other side, you are not so relativistic anymore. You can see the thing from many different angles of observations. And how they link together. And all of a sudden, when someone asks you a question or do something, and you are able to understand the assumptions and the context, that can help you resolve problems.
Okay.
And that's what is needed in many ways.
Okay. let's look at an example. Let's say you recently had a father murdering his young daughter. My first reaction would be to criticize him.
Yes.
Yeah, because I am thinking that the values and morals would be that a father is supposed to protect and not murder. How do I open up my mind now to see that from on my perspective it's bad, but on his side?
This question can be looked at in many different ways. Let me give you some examples. Nowadays in mass media, because it's very politically correct, when you hear a story about, I don't even know that story, but I follow the story anyway, about a father murdering his daughter, the reaction, the expectation is for you to condemn the father right away. If you say anything negative, people will say, oh my God, you are A, B, C, and D. Okay, they will call you names and all that. Now, don't do that. I have written books on criminality or criminal justice, a book on criminality. And what I propose in that book, for example, is that just like in court, you must listen to both sides of the story. Nowadays, if you hear a news that a woman was raped in the subway, all of a sudden everyone point into that person, whoever, that must be evil, bad, But we need to know what happened. My advice is that when you listen to cases like this, do not get emotional and jump into conclusion right away. This is one side of the story. What happened on the other side? A judge which is impartial is someone who listens, gather data, make the investigation before you speak. Okay? Not to open your mouth right away, but listen a bit more, collect data, and then you will see what happened. Things are not so simple, and things are much more complicated. And how do you do it? Well, I propose another methodology, is that you need to look at things from the perspective of the mind, nature, society, and culture. These four, within each of them, you have a lot of different factors. By the time you combine all of them, all of a sudden you can see the case in a much better perspective. Things is not always, see, this is also part of the human nature, which is in many ways animalistic. In the sense that people like to pursue their own interest. They come to you, they say whatever they like to say. Their point is to convince you to join them for whatever they do, to support them, so they come in with a narrative, with an agenda, with a motivation. And if I want to come to you and say that, okay, can you help me? This person is hurting me. You will say this person is bad, evil, But at the end of the conversation, say, oh my God, this person is so bad. I need to go and do something. But you
did not get the other side of the story.
But if you go to that person, the person will do the same thing to you again. The person say, no, he is very bad because and you listen to him say, oh, I don't know that. Oh my God, how dare he did that to you? Now I have to go back to him. You understand me? So your job, don't jump to the conclusion like this. What happened to the father and the daughter? Why was this a problem? You have to make the investigation, the context, on the basis of these four major approaches that I just mentioned.
Professor, we're quickly out of time. It certainly was a pleasure having you here. And as you can tell, listeners and viewers, there's so much that we can talk about and certainly keep going on and on and on. I've got an extensive list here that I can just pull any topic from, and Professor would be able to elaborate on it. But once again, thank you very much for joining us and sharing this hour with us here on Radio and TV Jaagriti.
Okay, thank you very much for the invitation.
So here's where we wrap up this special edition of the program, Conversations, right here on your number one Radio and TV Jaagriti. News at 5 is up next.